Action.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the second episode of the book club for Atomic Habits. James Clear, with me, Roy, Brett, Blake, and Joseph. Joseph is a little under the weather, so he's probably not going to be talking much this meeting. And Brett is going to be leading off this episode.
Yo, I'm leading off. So it's been a while since we got together, but from what I remember from reading chapters 2 and 3, it answered a lot of my questions, at least at the beginning chapter that we read. Like all my concerns, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I liked how he identified the levels of change, outcome, process, and identity, saying like how your habits pretty much change your identity, and how it's better to imagine the person you want to become rather than a person who does these things, because then you're more likely to like envision who you want to be and actually follow through with what you want to do. So one of the examples here is I'm the kind of teacher who stands up for her students or something. Like you want to be the type of person who stands up for other people, so you would do that. And then I'm the kind of manager who advocates for employees, so on and so forth. So I think that was a really cool way to think about it. I think I like chapter 3 a bit more because it went more in depth as to how to make habits with the 4-step process: the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. So like your cue being, oh, I really want to lose weight or something, I should work out. And then the craving is like actually working out or something, I believe. And then your response to actually working out, like making a plan, actually doing the working out, stuff like that. And then the reward you get from it, and just kind of how you can manipulate that kind of, so you can create good habits by like doing obvious stuff and making it attractive to you or worthwhile to you and satisfying and easy. Then breaking the bad habits, you do stuff to like actually make it more and more of a hindrance to actually complete. So I really like how he went in depth in the 3rd chapter.
Yeah, I like the 3rd chapter a lot too, because he's like basically putting down like the groundwork so he can build on that in like the later chapters.
Yeah. So that was most of my thoughts. It just answered most of my concerns from the 1st chapter, but I like the detail that he went into this one, which he kind of did in the first one too, but kind of like structuring it in a way that was like, yeah, I recognize that these are some bad things you can get into, but here's a way that you can actually circumvent that somehow.
Yeah, he's like starting to
change.
Yeah, he's like starting to get into like the specifics of everything. Very good. Is that your turn? Do you want to pass to Blake?
Oh yeah, I think that's all that I had.
Okay. Blake's turn. Blake's turn.
I don't remember anything. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. I wrote down some notes while Brett was talking, just like last time. Except last time it was while Roy was talking. So, the first note I have is cryptic, even though I wrote it.
Oh, you forgot what your note meant?
I don't know. I wrote down behavior changes like an onion.
Because there's layers.
There's
layers.
Yeah, anyways, that's the end of that note. The other note was
that's it.
The other note was the fucking where he mentions in the last chapter of this part, he says something about cognitive slumber somewhere in regards to like, or maybe that was in the other chapter.
Cognitive
I don't remember.
slumber?
But
Wait, what is? What is that?
But anyways,
mean?
it's something about like how you. He gave some examples. It's like how you. Let's say, for example, you think you're bad with directions, so then you sort of reinforce that by not like
you're like, I'm
doing
not
anything to change it.
This kind of person, you're already like
okay, that was in the
starting back or whatever.
That might have been in the second one actually.
Well, I don't know. The 3rd chapter talks a lot about identity, so it might be in chapter 3.
I can't remember. Okay, now I found it. But anyways, yeah, it says like you follow the norms that you've attached to your identity. That's what I quoted from page
Yeah.
35. If there's any readers reading along, any listeners reading along, but yeah, I don't know. I thought that was interesting because the first one sort of struck a chord. I am terrible with directions, but am I only terrible with directions because I think I'm terrible with directions and everyone tells me I'm terrible with directions? You know, I've never actually tried to change that part of my identity. So, I
Yeah,
don't
well,
know. That made me think just now.
yeah. Well, in like psychology, they call that the self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like you
Great.
believe something that you are like something or bad at something, and then so you don't even like attempt to get better or improve at it.
I wonder if there's anything good about me that is the same way. Like, it's,
Is there anything redeemable about me?
I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of like the same thing as like confidence, you know. Like if you're,
I don't have that.
well, that might be kind of hard then. But like if
Yeah.
you're like the certain person in your friend group or something, you know, like you're the jokester or whatever, you might pride yourself a bit more on telling jokes,
Yeah.
and you might tell them more often. That
God's
might be
funniest
like the
clown.
positive reinforcement side.
Hmm. I think he even
Yeah.
talks about like I think he mentions like individual identity and like social identities too. It's like you have like different identities depending on like the groups you're in.
True.
So like for like one
Yeah.
friend group you'll be like the class clown, and the other friend group you'll be like the cool guy, be the cool kid.
I'm the mysterious guy.
The mysterious
I just, like,
guy.
weird in the corner. Yeah.
Nobody knows about me or my
Um,
troubles.
Okay, the other part that I thought was interesting, I liked, for some reason, I remembered the habit thing, the four laws or whatever, which
Yeah.
apparently he just rips from a book. I mean, he gives a citation, but
Oh, the cue craving
does?
response reward
yeah,
thing.
it's from The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg or something. But this is his, I guess maybe this is his spin on this guy's habits, like the four laws. But anyways, for some reason I thought I remembered this is sort of unimportant. But the second law, craving, I thought it said make it sexy, but then in the little table it says make it attractive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, there's synonyms.
Make
a
it
lot to
sexy.
point.
My
That's
habits
fine.
are
But anyway-
so sexy.
The whole point though, I guess why I brought that up. So I like the part where he says you got to solve problems with little effort and energy. You know what I'm saying? So you're not gonna like
Yeah,
you're not gonna you're not gonna follow through with a habit if it's how does he put it, unattractive or difficult or unsatisfying,
Yeah.
yeah.
which is I guess the part to break a bad habit on.
Yeah, that was really what hit home to me because like the procrastinator in me was like, yeah, I don't want to do things that are difficult. Yeah, true. I
True.
just put them off.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't have anything else. Those are all the notes that I wrote down.
That's all your notes. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it's my turn.
Also, like before
Give
we
some
head over,
insight.
sorry.
Oh.
I think when he like took those cues, I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the book he said this is like an amalgamation of like studies and stuff. So he probably just like condensed it down to where it's more digestible for readers.
Yeah, I do remember him saying that. He said this is like a mixture of like scientific stuff and like personal experience and
Yeah,
like third party
just
experience.
that.
It's like, so that means we don't need to read the other guy's stupid book. We can just read this one.
Okay, I don't know
This-
about that.
This is like this is the synthesized version. It's a
Well-
second hand.
Well, it's like Atomic Habits though, right? So it's like he's like in the it's like the back when chemistry was alchemy, and it's like that. And then they learned like atomic theory, and then it became
Yeah, I
like
remember
modern
that.
day chemistry. This is like the upgrade. Like the Power Habit from the other author is like alchemy, and this is like modern chemistry.
It's like obsolete.
I'd rather study alchemy,
Yeah.
honestly.
It's kind of cool, but they call like everything Mercury. They're like
I like esoteric stuff.
everything's Mercury in alchemy. I have red Mercury, blue Mercury, green Mercury. It's like what? What is this shit? Okay. Do you?
Okay, give us some good insights.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
Okay. I liked the I definitely liked the layers part, the three different layers of the behavior, the outcome, processes, and identity, because that definitely is it's definitely pretty true. When you like identify as something, you're more likely to actually go out of your way and like do those habits. Like if you identify as like a reader, then you're more likely to read all the time. So, you want to say something, Joseph?
No, I'm okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so definitely, because he talks about like the two different methods for outcomes, and it's like the inside out. So like the identity to process is the outcomes method, or the outcomes like the outside in method. So it's like one method is you're focusing on just the goals, and then like you get those goals, and then it kind of like changes your processes, and then eventually changes your identity. Or like the better method is like you change your identity, and then that changes like your processes and your goals and everything. So like that's the like preferable method. And then
So you gotta fake it till you make it, bro.
yeah, I mean, sort of yes and no. I mean, like when you have like terms and stuff, it's like, oh, I'm a reader and stuff like that. It doesn't really necessarily mean you're skilled or anything like that. It just means you're kind of like interested in it, and like you know, the more you do something, the better you get at it. It's like even if you're pretty bad with like computers or reading or whatever, is if you identify as like somebody who's like a budding interest in that field,
Yeah.
then you're gonna get better over time because you're gonna
Sounds like some liberal propaganda. Like you could identify as. I'm just kidding.
Well, the thing is that like you identify as like you're not gonna identify as like Einstein. That's probably like counterintuitive. Like
I identify as Albert Einstein.
it's like I identify as a genius, and then you're just it's probably more of a hindrance to you becoming actually intelligent. But if you like,
okay,
yeah.
but look, my Discord bio's got a quote from Albert Einstein in it right now.
Oh, that's so.
I'm
so
but it,
sick.
I googled it. This is not even the exact like quote. I think the book I took it from is like it's a bit different, so I don't know which is
Couldn't even
correct.
Find the quote word for
Wow.
word.
Well, I found the exact quote, but like the wording is a bit different.
Wow.
Anyways,
You're not even an Albert Einstein.
I'm not a real Albert Einstein stan. What were you
So
gonna say?
sad. Wait, was I talking?
You talking about Albert Einstein or something? You like?
Oh
You
yeah.
wouldn't identify as Albert Einstein.
No, yeah. So like obviously there's probably like unhealthy identities to have and healthy identities to have, and like the healthy
Yeah.
identity would be like somebody who's I'm a reader. Therefore like I read and I try to get better at reading, and I like to read intellectually stimulating books and stuff, rather than being that bookshelf garage Ferrari YouTuber man where he just picks up a book and flips through the pages and he's like, I read this book in 2 seconds and puts it back on the shelf. Like his like identity of like reading books is like obviously wrong. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I think it's just kind of like that's kind of like true in everything though. There's always going to be like good manifestations of something and bad manifestations of something, and you kind of have to like figure out the good ones. So and I like the cue craving response reward like foundation he lays down, because you could see how it like ties into all of the, because he gives like the dichotomy of like how to build a good habit or how to like break down a bad habit, and they line up, they're like relational to the cue craving response reward thing. So it's like the first one for like making good habit is like make it obvious, like so make like the cue obvious, and then for like breaking down a habit, it's like make it like invisible, like make it hidden and stuff. So
yeah, some of these like there's also the table where he mentions like some example habits.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like I realize there's certain habits that I have that are like that easily fit in these little bubbles. Like for example, whenever I the cue is whenever I like go to a gas station, and then the craving is I need a energy drink. And the
can relate to
response
that.
is I buy an energy drink.
I do that all the time.
And then the reward is I drink the energy drink. And it's
You feel
it's
like
great.
shit afterwards.
I love it. Yeah, you do. I kind of do. Like you come down quickly, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't even really come up at all. It's really I only drink it just for the taste, and then you
I
come
can
down.
go
Like
drink like 6 Red Bulls in one day, not even get a buzz off of them.
yeah, I don't really feel anything off caffeine. But
you just habituated with it.
yeah, I just like the taste of them,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's whenever I'm near like today, I wasn't even planning on going in, and then I was like, you know what? I'm sure they got delicious.
You know how hard that is when you work at a gas station? You see that shit teasing you all day?
You just got to get like 1 64-ounce Red Bull, and then you'll be good to go.
Yeah. I'm wondering what would be like a practical implementation of like the Q craving response reward if you wanted to like become like a reader.
Some of the
example.
ads. Q. You're bored.
Q, you have
Or-
a book duct taped to your face. It's the only thing you
Yeah.
could see.
It smells like a book. Tastes like a book. I don't know.
It'd be hard
I
to
also
find a
started
Q.
reading another book. Oh, what were you gonna say?
I was just saying, I think it'd be hard to find a cue because what y'all are saying kind of sounds like a craving. Like you want to read. It sounds like a craving.
Yeah. Well, the cue is usually just like kind of like the stimulus or like the environment and stuff that kind of like starts the craving.
Yeah.
And then, well, for me, it's like the setting up like a different space for something definitely does help. Like I have my workspace over there, and that's where I usually like have like do my reading. So if I don't have anything to do, and I kind of like get up and go over that area, and I like see the book. That's like the cue is like I see the book, and I'm in that work environment where I only do like reading and work stuff. And so that's like the cue, and the craving kind of like, oh well, I want to read a book and actually learn stuff out of it. And then
I did start reading another nonfiction book. You'll be delighted to know. Which
That's
actually
good.
I didn't know it was nonfiction until I started reading it, but it was given to me by a high school history teacher when I was in high school.
Oh, okay. So it was a
I'm
high
just
school
now
history
going to
book.
read it. No, it's called Guns, Germs, and Steel: The Fate of Human Societies,
So sick.
and it's pretty cool.
Do you feel badass
and
reading
it's-
that book?
It's real. I don't. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's interesting. It sort of reminds me of a class I took that was it's called Africana Studies, and it was talking about how, well, the only part I remember is like how basically humanity spawned in Africa.
We spawned in.
You know,
That was the spawning
Yeah,
point.
and then it sort of when everything was like one big landmass, and then we sort of branched out from there, and some other history mumbo jumbo, and something about the like Australopithecus, and then Homo erectus. I don't know. But anyways, it's laying like the foundation for that. So it's talking about it's talking about the very origin of humanity, and then it's gonna talk about civilizations with it. Yeah, it's fun. Unlike this book's boring. It doesn't talk about monkeys at all, like primates.
We are primates.
One thing I do
Yeah.
want to talk about, at least with this book, is he continues like making stories for each chapter, which I really appreciate. So like, back to the energy drink thing that you said earlier, Blake.
Yeah.
He says on page 33, this is a story of Brian Clark or whatever. It's like, as long as I remember, I chewed my fingernails. It started as a nervous habit, but it like deformed into like an undesirable grooming ritual. So it like happens all the fucking time. But then he got a manicure. His wife set up like a manicure for him. So then he like
Yeah.
took pride in his nails then, and he didn't bite them. And then
I
like
forgot about that story.
I
the
did too.
reward system too in chapter 3 with like the cats pulling a lever to get food or something, and then it takes less and less time for them to find the lever. I like stories like that because it shows like actual, I guess, this process in action working for people.
Yeah.
So it's easier to like relate. Oh, I could do that in my life too.
Do you think he's making these up?
If you did, they're pretty good stories.
No,
If
because
you
I
did,
I think because isn't this guy kind of like I forget what they call it, but they're basically kind of like a coach for like CEOs and managers and stuff like that.
I don't know.
Like,
but
people
I know,
pay-
I
pay-
know what you're talking about.
like a life coach.
Yeah, sort of like that, but they're like business oriented. I think he's one of those people.
Yeah.
I forget what the technical
Like a
term is.
motivational speaker or something.
Something like that, but it's usually more
Something like that.
like they can do big settings, but I think they typically do more like one-on-ones. It's almost like almost like a therapy session, but
Dude, I had one of those guys come to one of my classes. A different class, not Africana Studies.
go on.
I don't remember anything about him. I
Oh,
thought he was psycho.
you know,
Pretty much all the guest speakers from this class. It was a class that was mainly composed of like one-off lectures. It was a big waste of time, senior design. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, all the guest speakers were crazy.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think. Well,
Okay.
back to like the book thing.
yeah.
You know, that piece of paper thing with like scribbles on it. I think the queue is probably the harder part of getting things done, because I think the other steps, like, it's much easier to kind of like set up like the craving and the response and the reward aspect, but then the queue's kind of like hard. I mean, I guess you could do like a timer, that's a pretty easy queue and stuff, but if you don't have just that time slot open all the time, then it's like, how do you actually keep that time open, or how do you actually like consistently do something with like a different queue?
Yeah, at least for me, I guess it depends. Because something like, I don't know, really mundane, like brushing your teeth. Like, you go into the bathroom pretty much every day,
Mhm.
so I would think it would be on your mind to brush your teeth every day. But, like, if I think about, oh, I don't know, talk about programming again. If I think about, like, coding, like, some website or whatever that I want to build, I feel like the craving would be harder for me to overcome, like, to actually put forth effort to do that. Or I guess that'd be response, in between craving and response.
Yeah, well,
I feel like that's harder for me.
well, I think the craving part would be like how kind of like motivated you are actually to like actually take action, and then the response is like you actually physically doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think it's kind of, well, if you kind of like I guess like talk and rationalize yourself about something, it's like kind of easy to get like more cravings about it. I guess like slowly over time. Well, I feel like if you keep doing something, that the other three kind of like take care of themselves. Like if you keep like reading all the time and you're not like burning yourself out and like building like a negative association with reading, that like the craving and response reward, that those all kind of like just get stronger over time. But then like the cue is kind of like harder. It's like a harder one to like physically make happen, especially if your like time schedule is like all up in the air and you can't be like, at 5 p.m. I'm gonna read for 30 minutes. It's like, oh well, I'm booked for over 5 p.m. today. So I just kind of like wonder what a different cue would be, like non time based one.
I guess you could try to like sync it up with like something else that you do, like whenever you get home, you have like some cue, like, I don't know, take a jacket off and then
Listen to music.
listen to music, maybe that too. And then you just pick up the book at like the same time as the cue. Like, you try to condition yourself to do it
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah, like one of my cues for reading and stuff is that like once I actually start to get like tired and I don't want to do anything anymore, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do some reading. That's usually like my non time based cue that I usually have. But yeah, I mean, you could definitely like link it up with something else. Like maybe a good combo would be like if you do like your exercises and then finishing that exercise is like that's your cue to read or do some other habit you want to build.
Yeah, kind of like chain it.
Yeah, just link them together. um oh yeah, okay, my card, I remember this one I want to talk about a lot too, or a decent amount. The feedback loop of identity and habits, which is definitely pretty true. I've experienced a fair bit, but like the idea that your habits build your identity, and then you identifying as something also builds those habits. That's like definitely true, because when I got out of high school, I was just like typically like most other people. I didn't like reading. School pretty much conditioned me to despise reading and not like reading at all. And then somewhere down the line, I don't know, I got back into reading. I don't exactly remember what happened, but I would read like here and there a little bit. And I think like after like a year-ish of kind of like reading here and there, I started to like identify as like kind of like consciously identify as a reader. And then I started reading like a lot more. And now I read like, honestly, I read maybe 3 to 4 days a week. But sometimes it's like short. Sometimes I'll pick up and I'll only read like 5 pages or something. But it's definitely that feedback loop of identity and habits is pretty real. So
Yeah.
what do you guys think?
I don't have anything to add besides that's true. I support
I mean,
that.
I agree. It's hard to say because like I can see some portions of it. I always like kind of separated like I want to be this type of person as like a moral dilemma more than a habit thing.
Mm.
So it's different for me to just try and say, yeah, they're linked up, especially because I haven't tried it. But I can definitely see how those could be linked.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe it's something that'll be more like apparent when we get further in this book and try to implement the book. But I think to kind of just like I guess like summarize like chapter 2, chapter 3, or at least the parts that I think were important is that identity's is like a very big important part of like your habits. And so like the first step would be to pick what identity you want to be. You'd be like, I want to be a reader, or I want to be a computer guy or programmer or a good communicator or something like that. And you like pick that identity, and then after that, then you can start going into the other steps of you trying to kind of game the cue craving response reward system, and then using that to kind of like build your identity and then build like habits, like targeting the identity is the best way to start building habits.
I agree. That's a good summary.
Does
So I want to become a hustler.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and the reward is, I make
Getting
big
money.
money. Yeah,
what would be the cue for you to start doing the habits?
existing.
Recognize
That's the
I'm
cue.
broke.
Waking
Yeah,
up
the
waking up is the cue.
Nah, hustling. Yeah.
Breathing
Well,
air.
there's no waking up because I don't sleep, so it's just I'm
True.
alive.
That's true.
I'm
You're
alive. I'm
just
hustling.
thinking like, damn, I'm broke.
So like every
Right.
like inhale and exhale is like the cue for you to be a hustler.
Craven.
God, I want some money.
I want some money. Response,
I need
get
some
some money. Reward, got money.
No, response is chase after the money. hustle
True.
for the money. So the cue is inhale oxygen, exhale carbon dioxide. The craving is I want some money, and I want some money right now.
Yeah.
And then your response is you put on your headband and start chasing after the money. And the reward is no money.
Getting the money.
No money.
Reward is having no money because the real hustling was the friends you made along the way.
Yeah, the hustling was the habits we built along the way.
Yeah.
We're all about the processes here. We're not about the goal outcomes.
True.
It's kind of funny.
All right. Does anyone have any like closing thoughts?
Not
Joseph,
really.
do you wanna?
No, I'm okay.
You wanna do some Fallout voice lines really quick?
For the
I'm
audience.
good.
I think he's fine.
Torture Joseph.
I think this is the end of second meeting at book club.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good. I'll end it here.
Later.